The All-Star break is finally here. For some of us, it's a chance to celebrate hoops in Chi-Town. For others, unfortunately, it's a much-needed break from basketball. We call those people Knicks fans, Kings fans, Pistons fans, among others. It's gotta suck to be loyal to one of those teams, but it can be fun to watch for the rest of us. So today, we're gonna rank the most dysfunctional franchises in the NBA this season and figure out who's the absolute worst. Hey guys, it's Casey Kiernan, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. Hit me up also on the AM Hoops podcast. We drop every single Friday morning. Subscribe to the YouTube though. We come out with quality NBA videos Monday through Friday at 6 Eastern. Hit me up on Twitter at Casey Kiernan and on IG at AM Hoops. So normally you'd start a dysfunctional video off with the New York Knicks, right? But the Kings are making more noise lately. First off, there's the losing. I mean, there's a saying that winning cures all. So by definition, any dysfunctional team is a losing team. The Kings had a surprising season last year, winning 39 games. That really says it all right there. But this season is back to the basement, and there's one man that Kings fans blame the most. Vlade Divac was one of 3 GMs to pass on adding Luka Doncic to his team in the 2018 draft. Anyone who did that will be labeled bad at their jobs. The one pass you'd give here, though, is the Atlanta Hawks and their front office guy, Travis Schlenk, because at least Trae Young has become an all-star in his second year. Then you got the Suns, who took DeAndre Ayton, Ryan McDonough, already fired, and then the Kings, with Marvin Bagley III at number 2 overall. And again, it's not so bad if the guy becomes a star or close to it, but the jury is still out on Marvin Bagley III. He has played less than 20 games here in his second season. And to make things even worse, Vlade knew all about Luka. He scouted him big time. He even had a dinner with Luka and the owner's son. But they took Marvin Bagley III instead. Luka just happened to come back from injury recently against the Kings. All he did was drop a fat double-double with 33 points, and you could tell tension is high in Sacramento when it comes to Luka Doncic. Check out Luke Walton here. He tells Luka to make sure to get with the ref after the game for an autograph. He's a fan of yours. Wow. The reason the Kings didn't draft Luka was taking the ball out of De'Aaron Fox's hands and that Bagley would be a better fit. Some teams go talent over fit. The Kings did not, and this blew up in their face. Then there's another Kings controversy that may be a flat-out scandal at this point. Their medical staff may be lying about their players' injuries. Fans were told that soreness was to blame for Marvin Bagley's foot and Richaun Holmes' shoulder. A report in The Athletic says, though, a team source thinks Bagley is worse than the team announced. He may not play the rest of the season. Holmes' shoulder is now called a labral tear. He'll be reevaluated in March. So either the medical staff is incompetent or they're lying intentionally to try to get players back on the court sooner. And if they're doing that, that is awful. Yeah, it might help the team win a few games here or there, but when a player's injury is underreported, sometimes he gets the reputation as soft, and that's the case with Marvin Bagley III. Then you've got players demanding a trade. This isn't always the case with dysfunctional teams. I mean, Paul George wanted off the Indiana Pacers. Even though it wasn't a trade, Kyrie Irving wanted to leave Boston. The Kings, though, have had Dwayne Dedmon demand a trade. He wasn't happy with his lack of playing time. And now Buddy Hield is in a similar situation. Buddy already spoke up about his contract before the season, then in December about his playing time.
A lot of trust issues going on, I guess. Nobody can really stop believing in players, so it is what it is, man.
Yeah, trust issues, like Coach Luke Walton not trusting Buddy Hield late in games. Hield was benched, and if this continues, a report says he will demand a trade also. Of course, there is such a thing as dysfunctional players, but when a franchise becomes a place for those types of guys, going back to DeMarcus Cousins even, it says something about the Kings. What the Kings do have going for them, though, is a new arena, which the city of Sacramento helped them build, a talented young point guard in De'Aaron Fox, a wing that every team would want in Bogdanovich if they can re-sign him, and the best Instagram in the entire NBA.
Whole situation with the other baby. Oh.
But maybe what's even more amazing than the Kings' dysfunction is the Detroit Pistons' dysfunction and how they've gone from breaking up the Lakers' three-peat dynasty to an absolute dumpster fire. And for this one, we need a legit history lesson. This team won a title in the mid-2000s, but then from 06, 07 to 08, they lost in the conference finals. After that, they took a nosedive. GM Joe Dumars decided 2 games into the 08-09 season to trade Chauncey Billups for the expiring contract of Allen Iverson. While that may have grabbed headlines, it turned into a horrible season. AI was bad, then he was injured, and then he was benched, which he didn't like so much. He said, "I'd rather retire than come off the bench." They still got into the playoffs with 39 wins, but were easily swept in the first round. Before that playoff exit, Dumars extended an aging Rip Hamilton 3 years. He signed Ben Gordon and Charlie Villanueva, which altogether took up a third of their salary cap. They also brought back Ben Wallace. Needless to say, it was a losing roster. They squandered cap space, and then they squandered their other hope, a high draft pick. At number 7 overall, the Pistons picked Greg Monroe over players like Gordon Hayward and Paul George. Now, I mean, look, at least this wasn't as bad as taking Darko Milicic in 03 over Bosh, Mello, or D Wade, but still, that set them back. As you can imagine, they earned another high draft pick from a bad season. This time they selected Brandon Knight instead of guys like Klay Thompson or Kawhi Leonard. The next year, a good draft, including Andre Drummond and Chris Middleton, but years of bad roster construction took its toll. The Pistons' current situation was born out of trading a boatload of assets for Blake Griffin. At the time, Stan Van Gundy was in the last year of his deal. He had nothing to lose, so they gave away a pick that the Clippers turned into Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Tobias Harris, who's now a max player in Philly, and more for an aging, injury-prone Blake Griffin. In fact, while Griffin is taking up a large chunk of their salary cap, he is out for the year. That's after maybe his last great season at all in the NBA ended with an injury and the team swept from the playoffs. The Pistons have been a successful team in the past, but right now, years of dysfunction and they're in NBA hell. But the kings of dysfunction are the New York Knicks. The Knicks have some of the most passionate and knowledgeable fan bases in basketball. That's why it hurts so much that they have had the worst team in the last 20 years. They have 1 playoff series win in 20 seasons and have the most head coaching turnover in that time. I mean, it's tough being an NBA head coach as it is, but even tougher in New York. The NBA has the most coaching turnover in major American sports, more than the NFL, the NHL, and MLB. And the Knicks lead the NBA with 14 head coaches in 20 seasons. They haven't won an NBA title since 1973, and that is unbelievable in a market that most players would love to be king. A long list of executives. Some big names too the last 20 years, really smart guys. But as Knicks fans will tell you, the problem is the owner Jim Dolan. He yells at people in meetings, hires and fires frequently, and yes, gets involved in basketball decisions. In 2017, Jim Dolan had a well-liked former Knick, Charles Oakley, forcibly removed at MSG. It caused a huge scene. Current players called out the Knicks for how they handled it. Then, Dolan was caught on camera approaching a fan who yelled, "Sell the team." He went right up to the kid and big-timed him, banning him for life.
You know what? Enjoy watching him on TV.
So to put out the fire, Jim Dolan went on local radio and tried to give the fans hope. Turns out that was a horrible idea as well. He went on to say this about the Knicks' free agency hopes that summer.
Particularly looking at this free agent class, I think we'll do very well.
It turns out he was wrong. Not only did 0 big-time free agents want to be a Knick, but KD and Kyrie chose the Nets. Durant even posted this picture with Charles Oakley just hours before announcing his decision. So the Knicks are a mess with seemingly no way out. But the one thing that is functioning very well for them is the value of their franchise. Forbes just came out with another list of the most expensive NBA teams, and again, the Knicks topped the list, this time at $4.6 billion. But how could that be? Why is the NBA's most dysfunctional team worth the most money? Well, it turns out that Jim Dolan isn't some genius businessman. The Knicks just happen to have the biggest advantage in the league. They play at Madison Square Garden, the world's most famous arena. It's valued at almost $1 billion and brings in a ton of sponsorships. That accounts for almost a quarter of the Knicks' value. Then there's the TV money. Every team gets about $89 million per year after the league's $24 billion national TV contract. Then each franchise gets revenue from their local market. For example, the Memphis Grizzlies get $9.4 million a year with a population just over 500,000. The Knicks make over $100 million per year with a population of about 9 million people. So no matter how bad the Knicks are, they will be profitable. So the Knicks don't even get credit for the one thing that is functioning well, which is the value of their franchise. They basically inherited the top of that Forbes list, but they earned the title as the most dysfunctional team in the NBA. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a daily NBA video.